We we began the second chapter yesterday, and while it appears that the Rambam is about to get into the topic of, we spoke Ahava and Yira, right? After he spent the first chapter discussing the greatness and and everything of God. So he began the second chapter talking about Ava and Yira, and on Halacha Gimel, he kind of takes a turn and gets away from Ava and Yira and goes into more of a metaphysical description of the world. All right, this is a little deep, but we'll attempt to explain it. So he starts off Halacha Gimel by saying, "Kol ma shebara Hakadosh Baruch Hu ba'olam hanechlak l'shlosha chalakim." There are three separate categories that can be attributed to anything that exists in the world. Okay, mehen bruin shehen mechubarin mi golem v'tzura. So, just as an introduction, the Hebrew words, what we call today matter, right? Anything that occupies space or volume, and that's what a golem is, right? Literally from the word golem, which means right, like a dummy, right? That's what we think the word golem means, but it's an amalgamation of raw materials, right? But what a golem has, he may not have a neshama or nefesh or anything, but what a golem has is mass, right? To put it in physics terms, right? He has mass or volume. So that's what a golem is. And tsura is something that has a shape, like the word, right, from the word tsura today. So something that has matter and a shape, the hen hoyim v'nifsadin tamid, and they eventually wear away. Right? Earthly materials, stuff that grows from the ground, natural resources, plants, people, humans. All of those is what we call something that has mass and that has form. Okay, so that's one category. The second category is umehenbru, and the second category is there are creations shehen mechubarin megolem v'tzura that they have similar, right, matter and form. They have both characteristics. Aval einan mishtanin miguf laguf umitzura l'tzura. But the difference is that they don't change from body to body or from shape to shape, kamo harishonim, right? They don't wear away like a person is big in his lifetime. Eventually, he's smaller, smaller, smaller until you die and you turn into nothing, right? So you're always what's called mishtana, you're always changing, right? This second category, though, is not like the first category. Elotsurasan kvua la'olam begalman. They are perpetually the same form. They don't change. The enan mishtanim kamo. They have mass, they have volume, they have a shape, but they are forever, unlike people. What would be an example of that? Vehem hagalgalim v'hakochavim shebehen. Right, that's the sun and the moon, right, and the stars, right? So that's that kind of category. The ein galmam kishar glamim v'lo tzurasam kishar tzuros, and they are completely different, okay, than other types of forms and other types of matters. So that ends category number 2. And category number 3 is umehen bruin tsura below golem klal. Then you have something that's almost like a riddle. What has a shape but has no mass? Okay, it doesn't take up space. So that's it's hard to think about. Vehem hamalachim. Those are angels. Hamalachim enam gufu gvia, right? Kind of like the way the Rambam described God. It doesn't take up space. It has no mass. It has no volume, right? Enam gufu gvia ela tsuros nifrados zu mizu. Rather, their forms, right? They have a form, but they just don't take up space, and they're separated from each other. Okay, so that's halacha gimel. Halacha dalid. The Rambam brings examples brought down in psukim that explain what he just said. Umahu zesha hanavim omrim shara'u, right? What's meant when we have sometimes the Nevi'im say that they have a prophecy where they saw something specific. For example, Sharu Hamalach Eish Uba Knafayim. They saw an angel of fire, okay, or an angel that has wings. Hakol b'mara hanavua v'derech chida. These are all visions, and the chida literally means, I think in Hebrew today, a riddle, but it's like a mushal, right? Here, the Rambam, he shows his throughout the Mishnah Torah. You'll see he's a rationalist. He doesn't believe in all kinds of things that the Ramban, right? The Ramban disagrees with him about a lot of stories in Sefer Bereshis about the Malachim and about miracles, and the Rambam is very, very practical. And here he takes a page out of his own theory, where he says that if you see a pasuk that appears that something doesn't make sense, like how do you have an angel on fire? So it cannot be taken literally. That is, as we say, Rambam Lashitaso, where he holds that most of the stories or most of what you think is taken out of context or not understandable. That's what the Rambam says. Yeah, you can't take the stories literally. Okay, it's all what he says is a mashal. Lomar she'ena, which again he has a very hard time explaining. Forget about psukim. I just off the top of my head, the parak in Vayera, where it talks about Lot and the Malachim and Sdom, right? Every other pasuk talks about Malachim. So, and that's the Ramban's really, really big kasha on the Rambam, where he says, "What are you taking? The whole parak isn't literal." It's one thing you want to say, okay, you have a pasuk, right? The three Malachim that come to visit Abraham, right, when he's sick, in the beginning of Vayera. Right? Okay, the Rambam says don't take it literally. The Raman says do, right? So they go back and forth. So it's one thing to have a pasuk or two not taken literally, but it seems like the Rambam says entire chapters should not be taken literally. Okay, it's a really, really big problem. But here we go, the Rambam echoing his opinion that just because it says, right, and he gives an example, Ki Hashem Elokecha Eish Ochlahu. Right? God is a consuming fire. Doesn't really mean literal. It's a mashal. Right? We don't take things literally. A pasuk, well-known pasuk. This is in Barchi and Afshi that we say every Rosh Chodesh. That says that he makes his angels. He compares them to winds. Okay, whatever that means. We don't know what these things mean, but again, the Rambam's proving that you can't take things literally. It's usually derech mashal. Then the Rambam continues in the next halacha, hey, ubame yipardu hatzuros zumizu v'harei enan gufin. So if these malachim, right, don't have a mass, so then how are they separated one from another? Right? They don't, right? They're not equal in their existence. Right? They're separated because one is below his friend. Now, we don't know what below means until next halacha. We don't know if it's literal or figurative, but they're not on the same level. See what that means. Right? And they have ma'alot. They have levels of existence, one on top of the other. And they're, whatever this means, I mean, it sounds like I know what I'm talking about, but I'm just reading. They do exist. There are levels, and the highest level is under the influence of Hakadosh Baruch Hu, right? This is a pasuk in Koheles that says, it sounds like there's some kind of hierarchy, right? It says one above, one that's higher, right? There's a shomer, there's an ultimate watcher. Okay, so now the last one we'll learn is halacha vav. He'll explain what it means, levels. When I said before in Halacha Hey that these malachim are separated, one is higher than the other, it's not referring to topographical, where one's on a higher level. But it's not like in a ballpark where you have box seats and then you have the bleachers, right? So you have one higher than the next person. He doesn't mean literal, right? The Rambam isn't talking literally. He's saying, if you have two Talmidei Chachamim and you say one is gadol, one's bigger than the other, doesn't mean one is 6'7" and one is 6'1". That's not what it means. It means bechachma, shehu lamala mimala shel zeh. One is elevated than the other one. K'moshe omrim be'ila shehi lamala min ha'olol. Right? Not exactly sure what ila means. What does it say in English? For we say one is on the level. Similarly, a cause is referred to as above the effect it produces. All right, cause and effect. Okay, so the Rambam goes on to that. All right, we'll stop here because the next Zion goes on to talk about more abstract, esoteric angel sprach, right? Where we talk about the different levels and the names of the Srafim, B'chayos, Afanei HaKodesh, right? Stuff we say in Kedusha that we probably don't know what it means, but we'll tackle it. I'm not sure when. Next week's a little busy, but we'll figure it out. Good night.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.